Good day, everyone. My name is Carlos, and today we have a new Modyo webinar. Today's topic is 8 features that you maybe not know about Modyo. So let's start introducing myself. My name is Carlos Solis. I'm the product evangelist here at Modyo, and I will show you these 8 new features. So, like I mentioned, the main reason that we choose these specific 8 features is because we believe that those will help you to be faster, to be more effective, and by the end of the day, be more productive on your work using Modyo. None of those features will help you to create something like 10 times faster, but if you use it as a group, you will learn eventually that by the end of the week, you'll save a couple of minutes, maybe a couple of hours if you're lucky, but everything adds up. I don't know if you ever read it. If you don't, let me recommend you this excellent book from James Clear. It's called Atomic Habits. It will help you to find out how small things, small changes can help you to improve a lot on your daily routine. And I want to give you one small phrase that I get from this book, and it's all big things come from small beginnings. So let's start with the first feature, which is keyboard shortcuts. Let's go to Modyo, and here I'm working on one page. Let's go to a site. Let me show you. I have this webinar page. And you can find here in templates, for example, that we have an editor. Everywhere you find an editor here at Modyo, we have a couple of shortcuts. And you can find the shortcuts here on the Shortcuts Helper. Here we have a list of different shortcuts that will help you to work faster and more efficient. Let me show you one. For example, if we use Shift and Escape, we can hide the sidebar. Let me use this small application to show you how I can use the keyboard. So for example, if I use the Shift, you can see here that I'm using the Shift with the Escape. So that can help for you to see how I can use my keyboard, even if it's not displayed on the screen. So basically, this way, let me select again the web page, and again, Shift and Escape. And this way we can hide this sidebar. This is very helpful if you, for example, want to focus on one specific part of the code, if you want to remove distractions, if you want more real estate on your page, on your screen, for example. This feature is very, very helpful. I actually use it like on a daily basis. And we have more shortcuts. For example, one of the most important and most useful I found is, for example, the code folding. When we use code, for example, here, let's go to this page. Here in this page, we have different areas. So let's pretend that we're working on this section here on the line 12. If I want to include, for example, one paragraph, and let me copy once again. And let's pretend that we have a really long code that is not shown on the screen. Yeah, we can use the shortcut for the sidebar and hide the sidebar, but still we need more space for this code. So in this case, we can use another shortcut, which is the code folding. And we can use it, for example, we can see it in here, the folding, which is Control, Shift, and F. And press F. And as you can see, we have the code that is fitting now on the screen, but now we have a different section here on my screen. For example, if you check on the left side, we have some triangles. And if I click them, you can see, for example, here on the line 12 that I was working, we can see that we can fold and unfold this section. So you can use this button or you can use the keyboard shortcuts to make it faster. And as you may notice, every time I fold the code, not only this triangle changes the orientation, we also have these arrows here. That means the code is folded or compressed, so you can see something inside that. Let's open it. And one thing that we have with the shortcut is that if we press this again, fold all shortcut, we can fold every single node or tag on HTML, so you can see that everything is already folded. Let's pretend that we have really complex nested code. In this case, we can use it to be more readable, more easy to use, and this way we can share with others or explain it. So this way you can browse around your code even faster. Again, if you want to unfold this code, here we have another shortcut, which is basically the same, but instead of Ctrl-Shift-F is Ctrl-Shift-U, unfold. So let's, once again, Ctrl-Shift and U will unfold every single tab we have on this code. Let's go to another shortcut. We have another one, which is the search. Of course, we have a built-in search on the browser. For example, if I press Shift and F here on the folder, and it's Command F here in Mac, Command F, we can use it to search on inside the page. For example, if I want to search for a string called show, for example, here, I want to use it to display that. The problem is that if we're working on the code, for example, here, if I want to search for something like container that we have here, it could be the case that we have multiple elements that match with that search. And that will be a little bit confusing if, for example, we have a layout called container and we have contents or a tag or a class called container. So if you want to search only specifically on your code, we have a dedicated search here. We can enable it again using Ctrl and F. And in this case, we can use it in two ways. For example, if I want to search for a container, press Enter. Let me check again. Container. Yeah, here we have it. Container. So as you can see, we have highlighted this section, and every appearance of this word will be displayed here on the code. So it will be pretty easy. And if you notice, even if we, for example, have this show layout, let me show you, Control F, and we search for show, which is in the page. If I click here, there is no match for this word, even if we have it here on specifically this page, we have a layout called that way. So that means we only search on the code. That will be pretty useful if you need to search something specifically on your code. And also we have support for regular expressions. So that is another way. So you can search on your code, not only for strings, but you can also include an advanced search for specifically patterns or elements that may change during your code. You can use it with regular expressions. That is pretty much what we have on the shortcuts. So you can have more information here on the shortcuts helper. And let me show you one more thing. If you're looking for this support for shortcuts on any other part, for example, we have let's not save this. For example, here on spaces, if you're editing some kind of entry, everywhere we have an entry, with a text area, you can find the shortcuts helper, and you don't need to memorize. We have all the details here for you to use in the future. So this is keyboard shortcuts. Next feature is template search. If you're working with templates, you may notice that, let's go to Modyo and go to one channel. Open this page and let's go to templates. Yes. So here in templates, we have different ways to search. For example, if you want to search for one specific template, you can use this section we have here. And for example, let's say that I am looking for this specific file, which is show. Okay, so I just type show. And as you may notice, we have different layouts to use this show element. Okay, but what happens if we're looking for a specific element inside the code? For example, if I am looking for this container class, let me show you how to find that. So let's copy this container string, and we can find this search in templates section. This is slightly different because in the previous search, we're basically filtering by the file name. So you can find different templates by the name. But if you're looking for contents, anything inside the contents, you can use this search. And for example, here we have the container, and let's go include a little more information because we could have more containers. For example, here, as you may notice, we have, for example, here, yeah. So in this case, that I am more specific than just container, we can find that specifically the home template includes this container line. And if we're looking, like I just showed you, for this more general container element, we can find everything that matches with this element. For example, here in footer, we can find here with Control and F, include the container string. And as you can see, we have it here in the line too. This way you can search inside the contents of the templates. Let's go back to the slideshow. And that's what we have for template search. Now, let me show you another feature called Advanced Search for Entries. Let's go to Modyo and go to the Content, Spaces. And here we have the entries. Before I dig on that, let's remember that on entries, we have two different sections. We have the entries and types. Before you can create entries, you need to create a type. And let me show you how we can create types. For example, when we create a type, that will be the schedule, the plan we have for one specific element, for one entry. So here we can design the different parts that the object of information we will have for one specific entry. So in this case, we have, for example, an ID for this product, which is a single line text. It's just a string. We have an active product, which is a Boolean. We can enable or disable if the product is active. We can show the discount. In this case, it's a checkbox. We can include a description. that is a multi-line text. And finally, we have the price with an integer. We have different data types that we can add into entries. Knowing that, let's go to entries. And here we have different elements for these entries. In this case, we have 3 different entries of the same type. So first, let's go to filter these entries by type. And in this case, just select the product type, okay? Now we're sure that we are only using the same type. Now that we have that, let me show you that we have 7 filters. What happens if we don't have the same type? In this case, let me include one different kind of entry. For example, here we have a slogan product. Just call it test. And Lorem Ipsum. Okay. Let's go back. And here in this scenario, we have 2 different types. As you may notice, we have a product type and a slogan type. In this scenario, as you may notice, we have 4 different filters. Let's open it. In this case, we can filter by status, category, if we have translation for different languages for each entry, tags, and by the author. In this scenario, for example, we can filter if we have one collaborator that, for example, have several entries, we can filter just by that collaborator. Or, for example, if that collaborator have already published that information, or in the case that this person already have translated, or if we have tags, we can mix those filters. But if you notice, we have only 4 different filters. We have that criteria because this is the only way we can filter all these different type entries. But what happens if we have only one type? Once again, let's filter by product. And now that we have only the same kind, the same type of entries, we have more filters. This is the advanced search. So open it, and here we have the same categories we already have, but in this case, we now have new filters. In this case, we have these filters because we can filter by active product, show discount, and price. Where did we get this information? Because here in the types, remember active, show discount, and price, we have for this specific product, these elements like active, show discount, and price. So we can use this, once again, filter by product, and display that to filter for specific entries and find inside these custom-made filters. In this case, can help you, for example, if you want something that show a discount, only the ones that we have with the discount. Or, for example, if you want something that displays one specific information that you already custom made for that entry. And those are the advanced filter by category. In the same line, we have the entries bulk edition. Let me show you. For example, here we're working with different entries. Once again, let me show you with different types of entries. So for example, if I select more than one entry, we have this bulk actions menu. In this case, we can publish or archive or include more tags. For example, here, if we have different types, we can include these 3 different elements. For example, here, add or remove tags. I can include the tags called free, for example. And those elements could be free. Let's save it. And if we enter here to this test tag, we can notice that the tag is now displayed as free. But also, if we check the smartwatch, we also have the tag free. Okay, so we can edit multiple types, multiple entries of different types using this bulk action. But in the case that we use only the same type, we have advanced bulk action. For example, here we can edit multiple entries on the same fields. For example, we have this smartwatch and the smartphone. Let's enter to edit these two entries, and since we're using the same type, we can access the inside fields that could be custom, and for example, we can include a description, and in this description we can include this product is free during this weekend only. Price in both cases will be 0. And to save that, click on next. We have this information now. And very important is that in the case that you edit multiple entries, the values that you include here will be the same on every entry you selected. So I click on save, and as you may notice, here's the legend that mentioned that I was just saying, and now we have those two items with the same information. As you may notice here, this product is free during the weekend only, and we have here on the smartwatch and on the smartphone, we have the same information on both. So we just bulk edit multiple entries. This could save you lots of time instead of going by one, editing and modifying each one. This could save you literally hours from your time. And that's entries bulk edition. Now, since we're talking about how to filter those entries, let me show you how to share this information. Let's think of this scenario. For example, you're working with a coworker and you're filtering by product, and you just want to make sure that your entries are in English, and you just want to watch everything that is not published, okay? And let's pretend that this is the only target information that you're looking for. For example, if you're an editor, you don't care for information that is actually edited. In this scenario, you're only working on information that is not edited, not published, because you need to modify. So, for example, that you need to work on every day on this kind of information, this filter information. You can use it for any other specific scenario that you may have. But the thing is that if you want to share this information, if you want to use it with another coworker, you have to tell them that you can go to entries and drive them in the same scenario. So go to entries, filter by product, not published, English. And in the case that you have custom filter, it will be even harder to show them how to go specifically in the same information that matches the criteria that you already have. So in this case, we have this small feature that help you just by sharing the URL. As you may notice here in the URL, we have the search criteria for this information. So if you share it with someone else, this person, just open a new tab and enter. That person will be able to see the same information with the same search criteria that you may have. The other good thing is that you may save it as a bookmark. And for example, if you need to work on a daily basis with this information, you can use it for just go specifically the information that you need and don't need to browse anything else or search every day. You can use it just as a bookmark and go exactly to the point that you may need. So that is sharing filtered URLs. The next feature is one of my favorites. It's called Emmet Support. In this case, we have one technology called Emmet that will help you to be more productive, and this is very important for front-end developers. Let's go to channels specifically, go to sites, and if we open, for example, here my webinar web application, we can go to templates here, and let's say that we need to include on this layout, for example, that you need to include one list. For example, here I want to include here one list, and the usual process will be something like div, and then you include one UL, which is the tag to start a list, but it's not the list. Just need to close it, and now that we have this element, we need to include the LI tag, which is the item for every list, and we can include this item. Okay, this is how we can do it. And let me show you one small feature that we have here. It's not listed on today's webinar, but if you notice, here we have this feature that shows you if we have a syntax error. If you notice here in pink, we have displayed that somehow we have here a syntax error, which is the case since I'm not closing this div section. Or for example, if I include something like this, something like that, we can have this syntax error message. That could save you some time to prevent, for example, if you save this, in some cases it's not possible to save it because have syntax error, but in the case that you are able to save some code with syntax error, this is a fast way, a really quick mode to find your errors here in the code. But let's go back to this code. For example, when I'm typing this code, it's easy to include errors. It takes time. So Emmet will help you to code faster and also without any typo or syntax error. In this case, I can include something like, for example, dev. And using Emmet, we need a special syntax. It's pretty easy, just include, which is the next tag that we need to include here nested on the div. For example, here is the UL. And if you notice, we already have this preview of which Emmet thinks that you're trying to type, which in this case, it's correct. We want to include a div that has inside that UL, and we can include this LI item. And this is pretty much what I'm looking for. For example, if I want to include text, I can use it with these curly brackets and include, for example, text. And here we have a list. Just type tab, and here you have your code. And it's pretty much powerful than that. For example, you can use, if we want to include more elements like that, for example, here we can include something like UL and LI. And if you want to include more items, for example, something like this, text, and you can multiply by, let's say we need to include 6 different elements with the same text, just tab, and now we have 6 elements with the text. We can include more elements. I don't want to show you specific how to use Emmet, but if you're interested, you can dive in this page, docs.emmet.io. Here you can have more examples and documentation on how to use Emmet. We have full support of Emmet, so anything that you see on this documentation, it's supported here on Modyo. And trust me, it will make you faster typing here on this editor. That is the Emmet support feature. So we have another feature called image preview. Let me show you how to use it. Let's go here to in this page. We can use it in several parts. For example, here on the pages. Let me show you. Here on the pages, we have this full screen button. And let's pretend that I want to include an image. Okay, so there are two ways to include images here in Modyo. So let's go here to the Asset Manager. And here we have our images. Every image that you upload to the Asset Manager will be available here. So let's use this image. If I click in here, we have two ways to include this image. The first is the URL. So you can use it as the traditional tag using this URL, or we can use the liquid tag. And let's copy this one. The liquid tag is easier, and in some cases is recommended because we can use a dynamic way to include it. So let me show you. Let's close it, and I just copy this liquid code. And in this case, what we have is the code for this image and a message that's saying this is an asset image. What will happen in Modyo is that when you render this page, it will be displayed something like we have here in the line 12, something like IMG and display the source, and will point to the source of this image and will include every information about it. So what happens if you're not sure what is the image that you have here? Just hover on the code that we have here, and as you can see, we have this little pencil. Click on it, and here we have the image information. So you can include a title, an alternative text, descriptions, tags. You can update this image and even change the image if you need. You can also edit it. For example, you can crop it if needed. And since you're using the liquid tag, the cropped image will be still pointing to the same asset. So this way we can use this image preview here in Modyo. So finally, we have the security headers. It's very important for many site admins to use this. So let's go back to Modyo, and let me show you where is this. Let's go to Home, Settings, and we need to go to a specific site. Let me go first to a specific site and open this webinar example site that I have today. And yeah, now let's go to Site Settings, and here we have the security headers. So here we can enable the security headers. And if you ever work with security headers, you may know that it needs some maintenance. So in some cases, we remove the complexity of this, and in some cases, we just make it easier to work with. For example, if you're not sure, if you're working on a financial website and you need that no bad actor can use your website to display it on an iframe and impersonate your website just because they include it as an iframe. In this case, you just need to go here and enable the X frame options. In this case, it's enable, and you can deny directly to not use on any case your website as an iframe. So for example, if you have this option, every time an iframe calls your website, it will be denied if the call is inside one iframe, or in the case that you just want to make sure that it's using the same origin. So you can still use the iframes, but only if they are in the same domain that you're using. So this way you can prevent that an external actor can use your website as an iframe. Just make sure that anytime that you modify the security headers, click on Save to make sure that the changes are saved, and applied on your site. And that is pretty much what we have on security headers. Before I finish this webinar, I want to show you about the community and resources we have for you to dive deep if in the case that you're looking for more information or you're interested on any specific feature or maybe something that we didn't mention today. We have these resources, and the first and most important, it's the Modyo documents. Here you can find anything related of anything that we mentioned today. For example, if you're looking for security headers, just type security, and here you can find everything about how to configure the security headers and information on your website. Or for example, if you're looking something more applied on real world scenario, we have the community. Here on modyo.com/community, we have learning paths that will show you how to use Modyo on specific scenarios. For example, how to create a PWA or how to create micro frontends using Modyo. Also, we have every webinar that we have available, so you can check this and every other webinar that we already made here in Modyo. And we also have the developer tips. Every question that someone has on how to work with Modyo, you can find it here as an answer, but not only for one specific user. So we like to write articles based on any problem that our users have. So maybe you can have one specific issue that you may have that is not applied specifically on the documentation. Maybe you can have it here on the developer tips. Just check it out, and you may have found some help for your issue or anything that you're looking for. And the last part I want to show you is the Modyo Help, which is in help.modyo.com. Here you can have more resources and help for specific scenarios. For example, if you're looking to create, I don't know, one specific element, such as how to publish one item, how to unpublish one entry, you can find information here. We also have resources such as the learning paths I mentioned. Here we can have how to create a website, micro frontends, PWAs, etc. We have everything that you need related with the product, the webinars, and we also have here tutorials. Everything that you may need here in Modyo, it's maybe located on some of those 3 resources that you may have. So I hope that it's helpful for you. And that is what we have today. I hope that you enjoy this webinar. And thank you very much for your time. My name is Carlos, and I hope to see you in the next webinar. See you next time.